It's that time, guys. It is that time to impart knowledge upon you. This is not a stick-up. This is not a hold-up. We are here. This is episode 1 of the Evolution Chamber. This is the brainchild of Lycan. So, basically, how this is going to go, guys, is it's going to be a format of essentially a lesson. It's going to be essentially a lesson format. And here I am. If you don't know who I am, I stream all the time on Twitch every day. And basically the format of this show is a new person, streamer, personality, or whatnot is going to come on each day for this. We're going to teach you a lesson. We're going to give you some wisdom, impart some knowledge, maybe some builds, some strats, some metagame knowledge. And so yeah, I happen to be the first one to go here. It's called the Evolution Chamber because it's supposed to help level you up in your skills about the game, your knowledge. So what I'm going to be going over today are going to be 2, possibly 3 things in some replays. The first thing is going to be TvP, and the second thing is going to be TvZ. Maybe not that order, but Terran TvZ. It's something that hasn't been used by pretty much anybody over the course of StarCraft 2, but it's actually something that's extremely viable as a strategy now in Legacy of the Void due to the Liberator. So I'm going to be going over that. And then TvP, actually, and I was hyping this up much earlier on my stream, but the TvP meta is actually changing right now, and there's like a little shift that people haven't quite seen yet that innovation has actually shown. Like, I don't know how many people watched Nation Wars 3, but we actually saw the meta literally shift in Nation Wars 3 with what innovation did against mana. So I will actually be going over that replay as well, and we're gonna find out what this little meta shift is in TvP. Now, for this show, guys, you may have questions about certain things with the Terran style for Terran versus Zerg. You might have questions about TvP as well that I'm gonna go over, or TvT. Please save all your questions till the end of the show, and I will go over everything. Just make sure save your questions till the very end. I'm estimating the show should be about an hour long or so. I'm going to try and keep it to about an hour. So make sure you keep all your questions ready in chat. If you have any specific questions that you can think of about the strategies and the metagame that we're going to be going over. So yeah, get out your rulers, get out your protractors, get out your everything, get out your notepads, write on your computer screen if you have to. You can actually write on your PC screen, because yeah, you're about to get some knowledge with the Evolution Chamber. Once again, first episode, guys. I hope you learn a lot, and I hope I'm able to teach you a lot. So first game we're going to be going over here is actually a game that I lost. Oh my god. A game that Avilo lost, guys. That is actually the first game that we're going to be going over, and you may be wondering why Avilo? Aren't we all just going to make fun of you for losing the game? No. What we're gonna go over here is gonna go over the learning process and how this meta shift is coming about and why it's coming about. So yeah, the first replay we're gonna be going over here is TvP. I'm not going to reveal what exactly the meta shift is yet. I'm interested if anybody in the chat will figure out exactly what the metagame shift is that is actually happening here. But let's go ahead and start, guys. Let me go ahead and get in this replay here. Let's go ahead and get in game. So this was a TvP game, and I'm pretty much going to rush through this one a little bit since it's the first one. And keep in mind, I lost this game. This was actually a loss, and there's a big reason. There's like a key why I'm going over this game first out of 3 or 4 TvP games. So what you'll notice here is I'm gonna open with standard depot, barracks, refinery. Gonna go into a factory, getting my command. So this is on Dusk Tower, so I'm taking my expansion before my factory. You can usually do it you can do it in reverse order. You can go factory first, then your command center. It's not a big deal. But, yeah. Just for a little background while we go into this replay a little bit. TvP has changed quite a bit in Legacy of the Void compared to Heart of the Swarm. Due to the Adept, due to the Disruptor, and due to the Pylon Cannon, as well as the Cyclone. Terrans, we're struggling in this matchup. Everybody right now is struggling in TvP, whether or not it's because of imbalance, whether or not we all suck, we don't know. But basically, the matchup has changed a little bit, and it's still changing. It used to be Marine Marauder, you would go up to 5 barracks, double medevac, you would harass, you know, do all that stuff. But right now, Terrans are struggling, including myself, due to, like, Warp Prism harass with the depths, getting in your base, all sorts of these things. So, first thing, I'm going to pause here in this game. Once again, I'm just going to go through this first... I'm going to fly through this first one quickly. But I just have the standard bio setup in this game. I'm getting the 5 barracks. I actually have 6. Going for reactor starport for medevacs, turret in each mineral line. I'm upgrading my bio units. You guys have seen this. If you've paid attention to StarCraft, you've seen stuff like this a bajillion times. You've seen this everywhere. And once again, keep in mind the early Cyclones are to defend against Warp Prisms. So this is the most standard of standard bio games. And yeah, I lost this game. I actually lost this game. A lot of people say I don't show replays where I lost, but losing is actually part of learning, despite, you know, what people think or not. And despite myself raging every now and then, I actually, once again, innovation playing in Nation Wars 3 has been quite enlightening to, like, where the future of this matchup is headed towards. TvP, at least in terms of bio play. Now I want you to keep in mind, guys, what is standard Heart of the Swarm? What is the standard Heart of the Swarm play for bio? Marine, Marauders. You get a ton of Marauders, but there's a huge catch. In Legacy of the Void, the Marauder has its attack split in 2. So what does that mean? It means that the Marauders' attacks are being blocked by armor twice. So they're actually doing a lot less damage when your opponent has armor upgrades. And a lot of Protoss builds get an early 3rd Nexus, and then they just mass gateway units, and then they add in Disruptors. And they get this sick army, this sick economy. It seems like they get almost everything ahead of Terran. Whereas you know, your army doesn't seem to do as well for whatever reason against what Protoss has due to the accelerated state of the game or pacing of the game. You'll notice that this Protoss guy he's ahead of me in bases right now. He's on he got 4 bases saturated really quickly. And the other reason I wanted to highlight this lost game of mine is because you'll notice I actually forgot upgrades this game. I do not have 2-2 researching. My opponent actually has 2-2 upgrades, and the battle that we're about to see here, you would think that the Terran army, this is just charge lots against mines, ghosts, marines, marauders. This would look like it's pretty even. We're about even in supply. If I bring up the army supply tab, I'm actually ahead of him in army supply. So this fight looks like it should be going even, or I should even be winning it, like you would think. Despite the upgrade advantage he has, I even EMP the High Templar, so he doesn't have any Psystorm. But what we're about to see is, look at how many Marauders. I have 16 Marauders in my army. Once again, I have an upgrade disadvantage. The Marauder took a nerf for whatever reason. Blizzard nerfed it. I don't know why. Took a nerf, but that's something very important for the way that the meta is changing right now. These 16 Marauders are pretty much not doing damage to his army. The +2 armor, Marauders already weren't too good against Zealots and Immortals and Archons. They were sort of meh in the first place. But on top of that, when the armor is being applied twice, and your opponent has an upgrade advantage, like, even though my army looks really huge here, and my opponent has very little splash damage, if any, he's actually going to end up crushing my army, as we'll see in a moment. These Marauders are not really doing what they're supposed to be doing, or what they could be, or what they would be doing in Heart of the Swarm. Like, once again, like, you see their fight, like, they should, be doing damage. I have so many like, I have the army I need, but the Marauders, there's no damage being done. Like, his army is just steamrolling me. And I feel like in Heart of the Swarm, the army that I have, despite the upgrade disadvantage, would have actually beaten this. But in Legacy of the Void, it's not. So let's go ahead and let's continue on in the game. He's still warping in gateway units. Once again, he has very little splash. He does have a couple High Templar for Psystorm. And I did try to transition, I tried to transition into Banshees and Liberators, but it was a little bit too late at this point. So I'm just going to speed through this. As you can see, he's blatantly crushing my army. He's blatantly crushing my army with just gateway units. He has very little splash damage in this army. But that's, you know, that's the impact of the Marauder nerf that most Terrans are struggling with when you go Bio at the moment. His army is just crushing through, and then, you know, that's pretty much game right there. So this is game number 1. So keep in mind, guys, keep in mind this game that we just went over. Marauders are not as strong as they used to be, and that is actually a huge deal. That it is the biggest of deals that Marauders are not as impactful in the game. So what I want to do here is I want to go into a game. I want to go into a game. If I remember correctly, this was before. This was a pre-innovation game. This game that I'm going to go into here. So this was before Nation Wars 3. This was before that game. Once again, I'm going to speed through this one because it's a game before the sort of like metagame clicked in my brain and will click in other people's minds as well. So pretty much the standard TvP opener, going for the quick barracks, always wall off, going for the quick cyclone to hold off, you know, you hold off oracles, you hold off early adept pushes. This is pretty much standard, just going for... I like to go into cloak banshees as well, so that you can try and do some counter harass. Go into the later expansion. Protoss is doing the same thing. You'll notice he got his expansion a lot earlier than me. And he's just going for adepts. This is gonna it's gonna be a very stereotypical Bio game that I play this game. Just going for the 5 racks, the factory, the starport. But there's a catch. This game, I started making siege tanks, and I started making cyclones, I started making mines with my composition. And once again, the important thing to note is this is pre Nation Wars 3. This is before that happened, and before I saw what innovation did, that sort of clicked in my mind that, like, oh, he's onto something too. Like, once again, a lot of Marauders in my army, and I think that's the culprit of a lot of Terran problems right now in the matchup. And I think innovation caught onto something that no one else has caught on to until now, guys. Until now. At least I'm gonna demonstrate what it is that... What is this secret that he found that none of us have been thinking about, but is, like, so crazy... Like, it is so crazy... Like, it is so crazy efficient what he has thought of to do. My opponent has, once again, he has his army is mostly gateway units. It's mostly gateway units and disruptors on top of that, and some immortals. But you'll notice he has an economy lead, he has an army lead. I think this game our upgrades were actually even. Much more even than the other game. He's on 2-0, and I'm on 2-1 at the moment. So I kept up much better in upgrades. I harassed a little bit this game. Once again, the reason I'm flying through this game is I want to get the main points in play here. Disruptors, by the way, are crazy good, and most Protosses right now are going for the mass gateway style into Disruptors against Bioterran. Now, you'll notice I have a bajillion Banshees all of a sudden. Like, why? Why am I making Banshees? So, the idea is, if your opponent is mostly making gateway units and disruptors, if you can transition into the Liberators and speed Banshees, you know, you can actually fight the army of the Protoss a little bit better. You can harass as well with speed Banshees. This takes a ton of Vespian gas, though. So how do you get this? How do you get ghosts? How do you get banshees? How do you get all this stuff as a Terran? And I think the main thing is less Marauders, more Marines. The main impact is the main impact of going for a heavier Marine count is that you can afford higher tech units. And once again, look at his army. It's mostly Disruptors and Immortals right here. I'm just chasing him down. Despite the fact that I have almost no bio units right now, I'm still able to pick off Disruptors, Immortals, and all sorts of things here with the Banshees. He's starting to get Phoenixes as a response to the Banshees and Liberators. And then, once again, I'm just making more Marines and Marauders. But I think it's actually a mistake that I'm making the Marauders in the first place. It's unnecessary now. The Marauder is like a prehistoric, you know, it's a fossil unit at this point. And every Marauder I make, and I think every Marauder the Bio-Terrans are making right now, and Terran in general, Marauders just don't cut it. Like, at least in the current metagame against what Protoss is doing. You don't want that many Marauders. So we're going to speed through this. And once again, these speed Banshees are so clutch, not only in TvP, but in TvZ as well. They just, they get so much done. So he manages to kill a base. I killed both of his expansions here, and he sort of just all-ins at the end with the rest of his units. And then we have one final engagement, and he actually, this game I actually won. More due to the tech units and the Marines. So what is going on here from the first game to the second game? What happened from the first game to the second game? Less Marauders, more tech units, more Marines. You'll notice I have the 2 reactor barracks. So at this point, once again, these games were before Nation Wars 3. Now we're gonna look at it. We're gonna look at the key to all of this. We're gonna look at the innovation game, guys. The Nation Wars innovation game against Liquid Mana. This was on the same map. And this is where it clicks together, like, what Terrans should be doing in TvP, and perhaps why we've all been sucking so badly. Maybe. So, this one we're gonna go... I'm just going to put this on ×2. We're going to go through this a lot slower so we can check out the build that Innovation does. His build is nothing new or anything in terms of... Actually, to be completely honest, the build that Innovation does here is not new at all. The build is absolutely not new. But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of this. He's sort of unlocked a TvP like secret without anything being new whatsoever. So he opens with a standard barracks. He actually opens with the Heart of the Swarm build. Reactor barracks into a command center at his expansion. And keep in mind, just constant SCV production throughout all these, all the builds that are going on here. And it looks like Innovation likes doing this to get a really high Marine count in the early game, so that he can try and he fights back at depths with the Reactor Marines. He doesn't even go for a Reaper. He just SCV scouts instead, which is fine. So 4 Marines are out, and he stutter steps against this first Adept and manages to kill it with his first 4 Marines, which is really nice. Unexpected. I might try this opener myself on ladder. It seems quite strong. It's old, but it's strong. It's an older opener, but it checks out.
Upgrade complete.
He actually moves across the map with his first 5 Marines, which feels risky, but he just does a poke. I guess he doesn't care about these Marines. He just wants to scout and maybe do some damage. Although if there was a pylon here, I don't think this would have done anything at all. Would have just walked into a pylon cannon and every Marine would have died, or he would have had to walk away. He almost gets a sentry, but nothing much really gained there. He's going for the Cyclone after this. So far in this game, Innovation's using a Heart of the Swarm opener. He went Reactor Barracks into a Command Center. He's going into a Legacy of the Void sort of transition into the Cyclones to deal with Warp Prisms. Because everybody loves Warp Prisms at this point, and everybody's just using Warp Prisms. He gets to eBay after this so that he can have detection for DTs and such, and he does scout Liquid Mana going for a Warp Prism, so Mana's going for some kind of harass. He wants most likely Adepts and Warp Prisms. The Liberator, the nice thing about this, and once again, this is not a new build, this is just a standard 1-1-1 with an expand. He gets the Liberator out instead of a Viking to hunt down the Warp Prism. So it's literally to hunt down the Warp Prism why he's building this unit. And keep that in mind, because if this were the benefit to this, guys, and I will put up the production tab here. I get poked by liking to get that up, Kappa. But yeah, guys, like get this straight. Liberator over Viking every single time. Do not build a Viking. If you build a Viking, you will probably die. You will actually just probably die, guys. Apparently Twitch chat is telling me to put up the production tab. Well, you guys, you got me to do it. I like keeping a little bit of secrecy in terms of what's going on in the game, but that's alright. He actually loses Cyclone, but he does kill the Warp Prism, so this harass has actually ended. Like, this is... The first Warp Prism is done, the Adepts are dead, so he's defended this successfully. If we look at what Liquid Mana is doing here, he's on 4 gates, he has his rowboat, he's probably looking to take a 3rd base pretty soon, but so far, Innovation, like, cannot die here. Like, it's actually... after that Warp Prism dies, he is completely safe. Like, there's nothing that can be done. He has a tank at... I think he had one in his main at some point in this game, or there it is. So he's putting this tank in his main. He just can't die because... And once again, the reason why I was emphasizing do not build a Viking, build a Liberator to hunt down the Warp Prism. At least if you have the Liberator, you can turn it into siege mode, defender mode, and then it provides you some value in your build. Whereas a Viking, you land a Viking, and a Viking just sort of dies against everything. A Liberator is much more cost efficient, and it's just way better. So Innovation throws down a 3rd CC. He's doing this because, once again, he held off the Warp Prism harass. He knows that he's not going to die to anything else in this game. Innovation's being safe, throwing down a bunker up his ramp because he doesn't know if the all-in or the attack is going to continue. And there is actually another Warp Prism on the way. And, you know, this is the life of a Terran right now in Legacy of the Void. You have to expect the Warp Prisms to keep coming one after the other. They're just going to keep flying in your base. He's trying to do an elevator, but Innovation's already prepared for this. He has a bunker in the main, he has tanks, he has a Liberator from earlier. So this is doing some damage, but it's not doing that much damage. He's held off everything, so he has a nice lead here. And he's trying to chase down this Warp Prism here. But he gets away, but that's fine. So what does Innovation do after this? He's going into Stimpak, he's getting combat shields. And this is it. This is it, guys. What are we looking at here? What exactly are we looking at? We're looking at a factory with a tech lab on it, triple barracks, and a starport. This is nothing new. This is literally nothing new. But Innovation is doing this, and you should do it too. And I'm starting to, you know, once again, those first 2 games I showed you where I lost because I was building Marauders, and Marauders, for all intents and purposes, suck right now because of the Marauder nerf. So, don't build Marauders! Build tanks! He's playing TvT! Innovation, the crazy person that he is, somehow in his brain decided that he's going to play TvT against Protoss. And that, my friends, that is the metagame shift that I am describing. He's actually playing a Terran versus Terran game against Protoss. He's building siege tanks. He's building only Marines. Screw Marauders. Do not build Marauders ever again. If I see any of you guys in Twitch chat building a Marauder, never build one ever again. Never build a Marauder ever again in your life. Or at least try this out on ladder, because like, once again, he's still building tanks, and I've seen Terran players doing this. Like, it's not just Innovation that's doing this. It's more Terrans are actually starting to do this that I've seen, and it just makes sense. It makes sense. Once again, double reactor on his 4th and 5th barracks. He's going for 2 more reactors, not tech labs, reactors. He's still building Marines out of these tech lab barracks. He's 0 Marauders. This is just a standard Marine tank build, but it's so simple. But it's such a good solution, because if your opponent is just if they're just spamming gateway units and immortals and some disruptors here and there, you make Marine, make the unit that has more DPS. But the thing is, a lot of Terran players, including myself, we didn't really think about it didn't really click with people, and it still hasn't, I don't think, that Marines are just better right now. In the current state of the game, Marines are they output more DPS. They allow you, the other nice thing about the Marine is it allows you more Vespian gas to build Liberators, and to build tanks, to build tech units. So the gas that would normally be going to Marauders is now going into Marines, and you have a much more your army when it's clumped up will have much higher DPS than an army with Marauders in it. And also, you have to remember most Protosses don't build Colossus anymore. That's the other thing. So this is sort of like a metagame against people that are building Colossus. What do you do against this as Protoss? You have to build Colossus or High Templar or both, along with Disruptors. But, Liquid Mana was taken completely off guard. He's expecting an army that, instead of these Marines, instead of 16 Marines, he's expecting 8 Marauders and, no tanks. But instead, Innovation's just turning that on its head, and he's just, saying, okay, look at me. Look at how many Marines I have. You can't kill Stalkers are inefficient against Marines. Immortals are inefficient against Marines. They're good against tanks, but they're not good against Marines. And in the production tab, you'll see only Marines and tanks are being produced. Upgrades for Marines and tanks. This is absolutely insane that a pro-level Terran player has decided in TvP to start doing this. And the thing is, this is a shift in the meta that I don't think is just a one-off thing. I don't think this is just a one-off thing that Innovation did in this game, and that it caught Mana by surprise, and that he'll never do again. I think this is how the matchup probably should be played at this point. He just ends the game with Marine tank. He just ended the game. Walked across the map with a very standard unit comp that no one ever does in TvP, but he did it, and you can tell it's very intentional, because these Tech Lab barracks, 0 Marauders. The entire game. Not one Marauder has been produced the entire game. Throughout the course of the entire game. A 10-minute game, not a single Marauder in a TvP for a Terran that's going bio is actually very unheard of. But it works. It works. And once again, why does it work? Because Protosses right now in the current meta are only building gateway units. They're not building Colossus. They're not going early Psystorm. They're doing stuff that this works amazing against. So how can we apply this to our own games? Let's go into a replay and let's so I showed you some games that I lost and won pre-Nation Wars, and then after watching Innovation play this game, and this is the funny thing, guys, this is the very, very funny thing about metagame shifts. Until one player does it, no one is willing to try it until either a pro or some other player popularizes it. No one's willing to do it, or until somebody wins with it in a tournament, and then everybody's like, oh yeah, it was good all along, yeah! So we're all pretty dumb, including me, to not reckon, this is so simple to recognize that this, just hindsight 2020, that we should all be doing this. So let's go into a replay, that was won post Innovation. Let's go in. You know what? This one, I believe, was quite good to go into. So let's check out a game post-innovation here. Wow, people are trolling me here, spamming invites. So this was a game on ladder against Darth Bane. Apparently he's a Sith Lord or something. So let's check this out. Let's check out this game. Once again, this game was after the innovation game, that Marine Tank TvP game, because I just wanted to try it. I'm just like, huh. I noticed that he very purposely did this. Is this what people should be doing? Like, maybe this will help TvP. Maybe this will save esports. This will save the game. Maybe, I don't know. So I opened the game with double gas into a factory. Once again, you'll notice the TvP builds are this pretty much bread and butter builds. Every game, Protoss is pretty much going to have their nexus before you if they don't all in you off one base, which is fine. Going straight for the Cyclone, straight for the Banshees here. And it's really important. One thing to say about these games, guys, when you play TvP on ladder, do not send your... Be very careful. To send your first Cyclone across the map can sometimes be suicide. If you send... This Cyclone, this first Cyclone you're building is meant to deal with Oracles, it's meant to deal with the Depths, it's meant to deal with the Pylon Cannon Rush. That's why I'm actually, you'll notice, I'm just keeping it in my base. I'm not sending it out on the map. What is a Cyclone going to accomplish if you send it out of the map? Nothing. Like, he has a Pylon. A Pylon can hold off a Cyclone right now, Kappa. A Pylon. So it's very pointless to send out a Cyclone on the map. You're not going to do any damage with it. Just keep it at home, defend with it, and use your Cloak Banshee instead to try and get some harassment done. And I'm actually building a couple Cyclones here. I think I go to 3 or 4 in this game. I'm going triple command center. I have an eBay building. My opponent is on 2 base. It looks like he's going for the Warp Prism Protossery as well. Now you'll notice I do kill some probes here with this Banshee. I do get about 3 or 4, which it is nice. And it's a good scout as well. I scouted 5 gateways, a Robo, Twilight Council. I know he's all in me. I can throw up turrets to try and defend Warp Prisms. I'm throwing up a bunker. Throwing up 2 more bunkers just to be safe here, as you can see. And then I'm getting siege tanks. So I have 3 Cyclones. I have the Marines going. And he's trying to kill me with Blink off of 2 base with the Warp Prism. This is similar to the game we just saw, Innovation against Mana, where the player is using a Warp Prism early game to try and get a Depths in your base, or Stalkers, or, you know. He's basically trying to end the game right now. So far so good. Now once again, I'm throwing down the barracks, throwing down 3 more barracks here, getting the reactor, my starport, +1 upgrade will start soon. And this factory, I'm just gonna keep it. I'm just gonna keep it there, gonna keep building tanks. Like, we can protect... The best way, like, the way I changed my mindset for the games that I played in this map, the way I changed my mindset was, okay, I'm going to think of this like TVT. This is a Terran versus Terran Marine tank. So that's, like, honestly the best way to think about it. Just think about it like you're playing another Terran player and you're going Marine tank. He does get some adepts into my base, doing a little bit of damage, but it didn't really do that much. So I'm ahead of my opponent at this point. 3 command centers. He's just getting his 3rd nexus, or he's just about to get that up there. Starting my upgrade here. And once again, only 2 tech labs on your barracks, 5 racks, starport, and a tech lab factory. And you're going to slowly accumulate siege tanks, you're going to accumulate marines, and the idea is you're going for triple reactor on your barracks. You're going mass marines, mass tanks, no marauders. I don't think I'm going to produce a single Marauder this game, if I remember correctly. And my opponent, because this is sort of like a new meta for TvP, you'll notice he hasn't caught on. He's not building Colossus yet. He's going for Disruptors. He's going for a Depth upgrade. He's going for the Mass Gateway Immortal style. He's not adjusting to what I'm doing, because this is stuff that people don't do. But, like, in the production tab, we have 8 Marines, a siege tank, stim, combat shields. It's just Marines, tanks, medevacs. And Liberators, because you have the gas for it. if you're building Marines, you have gas for so much stuff for the higher tech units that you normally might not be able to get in a TvP game. He tried to Warp Prism harass me here, but I do have a turret rank from earlier on in the game, which is nice. So just let's take a look at the armies here. Let's take a look at what we have. I am way ahead in supply from the early game lead. He does have the Disruptor here, but he has, like, if this were Heart of the Storm, this guy would have 2 Colossus out by now. He would have, you know, Colossus range. He would have mass charge lots. He wouldn't have these Stalkers. The only reason he's doing this is because this is a very new thing. And I actually did build 1 Marauder, guys. I apologize. I built 1. I should have killed that one. So this guy, like, he's trying to move out of his base. He's like, what the hell? Why does he have siege tanks in a TV? He has Marines and tanks in a TvP. What? 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 Like, this guy is just wondering, like, what the hell is going on? The Stalkers are inefficient against this. They're inefficient against the tanks. They're inefficient against the Marines. Once you start adding in Liberators on top of it, it gets even worse for Protoss. He's still warping in Adepts and Stalkers. He's still playing Legacy of the Void like 1 meta behind what we're doing right now. He does manage to get some Disruptor shots, but his army is just not going to be able to deal with what we have, which is just a Marine tank army. And yeah, one thing, by the way, if you guys learn anything from this TvP replay in particular, check out this Disruptor right here. I actually run up to it. I just run up to it. He tries to launch a Disruptor ball, but I kill it. And you have to remember, same thing here. He launches a Disruptor ball, but I focus down the Disruptor, and it actually cancels the Disruptor shot. That is next level. A lot of people don't know or realize that, but you can actually move forward, sort of like in the Ravagers. If you kill the Disruptor, then the Disruptor shot will just vanish into thin air, into the void, into the Legacy of the Void. Heh. But yeah, that's pretty important to know when you're microing this. And once again, like, his army, he only has Stalkers and Disruptors. He can't deal with the Marine. Imagine for a moment I had no tanks, and I had a purely Marine Marauder-centric army. I have about 24 Marines here. I'd probably only have about, like, maybe 16 to 14 Marines or so, and I'd have, like, another 8 Marauders. And the Marauders are, you know, the Immortals counter Marauders, Stalkers deal with Marauders pretty well. The Disruptors deal with Marauders are a huge unit. You know, they basically have a hit me sign on them. So if I had Marauders in my army, his army would actually be more effective against mine. If I had just played, you know, if I just sort of played on autopilot, like this with Heart of the Swarm. So once again, he just can't deal with this army. It's Marines, man. Marines are a good unit. And the game at this point is pretty much over. It's crazy. It's crazy, guys. It's absolutely crazy how effective this is. Keep in mind, Protosses haven't really caught on to this yet. Maybe after this episode, Protosses will adjust their style a little bit. Maybe after they saw what Innovation did to mana, they'll adjust. But right now, every Protoss is still building their army to kill a Marauder army, to kill a Marine Marauder medevac army. They're not building their armies to deal with tanks, to deal with Marines, and to deal with medevacs. So yeah, overall it's pretty nice. It's just a really nice feeling to be able to fight Protoss on equal terms or equal footing in this matchup. There is one other replay I can go into here for TvP, but I think you guys got the gist of it. So just to sum up, everybody, TvP, don't build Marauders. Marauders not good. Don't build them anymore. They're unnecessary. Build tanks, play it like it's a TVT. Play it like it's a TVT, guys. So, next thing here, we're going to go into something that